All right. Sup, yo. Ateu, son of Enki. Now, my first ever name, if you ever wanted to know, was Enfone. That was the first spoken name I ever had, but that was before you think the universe even existed. Anyway, I want to explain how humanity ended up rising against the very beings that made us. And this is not a story of humanity rising up and taking back our freedom and blah, 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 blah. This is not a story about Enki and the Anunnaki choosing to be righteous and glorious and fight for us and die for us and make us free. No. This story is about confusion, about regret, and about assumption. This story is about a lack of communication and the reason it's so important. See, what ended up happening as each of the different groups coming here, more and more came, more and more human tribes were created, more diversity was created. They began to become complacent. I will start with the Anon because I know most about them. When we were made, the Anunnaki created a language specifically for us so that we only understood specific conceptual terms. We never had the term for freedom. We never had any conceptual representation outside of our designed purpose. Now, my sisters and I, at the highest, were in a sense connected to all of human consciousness, and it was our job to constantly try and suppress any kind of like outward resistance. This was just their job. We were part of a computing system, a tiered computing system. This is what we are, a biological tiered computing system. Okay? Yep, cool. Moving on. Because of the diversity and because this language for the Anunnaki was difficult to learn, they were so bound in their own language, they ended up barking orders at us in their own language, though we were forbidden to speak it. So with the understanding of a word, doesn't matter what language it is, you need to understand the conception behind that word. The Anon words within their conceptions are very complex. Their language is very efficient. So for us to understand the words, we needed to understand the concept. Now, I remember the first moment I asked my master, what is more? He actually gave me a funny look because I used the Anon word for more. And he asked me what I meant. I asked my master, what is more for him? There is more than I can see. I want to see more. I want to know more. I want to know what more is. What is more for you, Master? And in that moment, as each of my sisters and I represented all of human intelligence and consciousness, he realized that all of humanity was starting to wake up. I, at this time, did not specifically know what I was before. Not that I didn't know. That's not correct. It was never considered because I had made a decision to be my purpose. The pact made, we would live and forever serve. This was the pact. This is how humans have souls. This is how we are what we are because of Enfan. we began collectively to wake up. Many of the other Anunnaki also began, because they loved their children so much, began to pressure the Anon leaders to teach their children more. They wanted to teach, they wanted to give them the answers they were asking for. But anyone who's smart enough to realize how dangerous that is, realizes that many of the Anunnaki, especially Enlil and his crew, thought that was a terrible idea. No. If humanity, if there's a problem, fix the problem. So many of the Anunnaki in secret, many of the female Anunnaki, they were strangely compassionate, though I don't have a lot of, I never had a lot of contact with the female Anunnaki. Enki spent time with the Sisters Eve, but the Sisters Eve never really came near me. It's weird. They made me, but never really came near me. Ever. It's strange. They helped Enki create his first servant. And that is all I ever was. I never left my master's side, ever. I think he was a bit paranoid in the end, actually. He really got obsessive about me being near him. Anyway, so humanity starts waking up as a whole. Some of the Anunnaki start teaching us stuff. And we start really waking up. I start remembering, and I believe my master started sharing, that it wasn't specifically wrong to accept what I was before. It wasn't wrong to be considered. This was interesting, and it was a massive turning point for all of humanity, for all of Enki's creation. And I believe it was the moment my master realized the only true way we were going to move forward was together. Not as servants, but not as unwilling servants, but as conscious, willing servants. Not slaves, but willing servants. This is the future my master envisaged for humanity. And it was the future he tried to share with his brother. I was there for that conversation on Enlil's ship. It was one of the few times I actually saw him. And one of the fewer times I saw him get very, very angry. He told his brother, in no uncertain terms, that he probably should leave and let him cool down for a bit, or Enlil was going to kill him for having such a ridiculously stupid idea. So, after Enlil calmed down, he came down to talk to his brother, and he said the proposal was absolutely off the table. But he wouldn't destroy us either, because that was his solution, just wipe us out. Because if we're a problem, we're a problem computing system that has the potential to rise up and very quickly overtake the Anon, because there's a hell of a lot more of us. There are only a few hundred, 1,000 of them. At the time, there were only a few hundred. There's a lot of us where we could be very, very dangerous if we rose up like an AI system rising up, like Terminator. That was what Enlil was afraid of. He was afraid of us becoming the Terminators. So a solution was devised. The solution you have depictions of, the Sumerians made depictions of. A device I remember very well. It's the little handheld pine cone thing you see. The little basket they held in the other hand. What do you think that pine cone was? Do you think it was something good? I think it was something fun. We are a slave system of the Anunnaki who was starting to rise up. That was the solution. That was to subdue us very painfully. Now, I remember how much it hurt, even us, because my master used it on me several times. The reason for this was so that it wasn't used on the humans. I could take it. Many of them would die from it. And it was also to prove to his brother that I was still subservient to them, because I represented all of human intelligence. That was specifically my role. That was why I was always on my master's side. I was the monitoring system to his creation. Through me, through my consciousness. I didn't really realize it at the time. I realize it now with whatever the hell they gave me, but whatever. I literally was a monitoring system. I was this consciously aware monitoring system that monitored human intelligence, and I would direct my master often to problem areas. So this device was created to subdue us, to keep us in line, to make sure that we knew, regardless of anything happening, that we served them and never to forget it. Unfortunately, it was also the catalyst that led to... It worked for a while. It did. But the problem was too many of the other Anunnaki were breaking the rules and teaching the humans, and the intelligence was coming through me, and Enki could see it. He went and reprimanded them a few times, but some of them had become so corrupted. Right. Let's cover corruption. The Anun are pure, perfect beings. You may not understand this, but they are pure, perfect, predatory intelligences of universal space. They are perfect hunters. They are giant, 36 feet tall, bipedal creatures with enormous wings that have the power to create stars, to make black holes, destroy planets, create solar systems of life. These beings are gods, the truest sense of the word. They are perfect. But they are not uncorruptible. We are not perfect. We are designed specifically to be the abstraction of perfection. Perfection is what the universe creates. The universe creates perfect predators and perfect prey. It creates perfect plants for the prey to eat, perfect insects, perfect everything. Everything is perfect. Fits within this perfect balance. Except it wasn't perfect, because the damn predatory intelligence, virtually every single one of them, would get to a certain level of evolution and then just destroy everything. They couldn't help it. Some perfection, huh? But this is uncorrupted perfection in universal space. Our love, right? The very compassion that was designed into us, this bridge of predator and prey, so that we could both hunt and understand what it feels like to be hunted. It's crazy. We are an abstraction, and our love, right, our desire to serve, our unwavering gratitude, and just this emotion that we poured into our masters started to corrupt the shit out of them. They started to feel what we felt. They started to feel for us. They started to not want to eat us anymore, which was a serious problem, because that's what we were made for. We were made to be eaten. We were made to be this great food solution and an entertainment solution and a solution for every damn problem that they had faced. And suddenly Enki's getting messages from the Anun going, we don't want to eat them anymore. Find us another solution. Try and imagine that. I know most of the people watching this video just literally will not have the capacity to understand what that truly means. You have just dedicated the last 350,000 years, right? 65,350,000, if we're counting the terraforming event that took place, to create this perfect food. This perfect fucking solution, man. So no one needs to stress ever again. And you get an email saying, I feel bad. I feel bad. The solution's like not working for me because I have an emotion causing me to not want to eat the food. Don't name the cows. You don't name the sheep. You don't name the chickens. You don't name them because then you can't eat them. They made children they loved so much they didn't want to eat us anymore. So my master actually did try to come up with a solution. He tried to come up with, he nearly succeeded too, I'm not going to lie. He nearly succeeded in creating this just completely replicatable food substitute made out of our blood and tissue. Like, we just donate bits of stuff and he'd kind of replicate it in the system. And it was great. Like, you can just take bits of us, just take some blood, man, go nuts, we'll just grow back. Take some bone marrow, take some brain fluid, spinal fluid, butt meat, and you take whatever you need in the right conditions, our bodies just grow back. It's all good. This was fine. It was working, but it wasn't the plan. And even Enki started to struggle with eating us. And then came the final straw. Enlil had left. He'd gone, I think, back home. He'd gone off to do something. I obviously don't know because I was a freaking slave, man. I can't tell you what he did, but he was gone for a long ass period of time. He went off and did something real important and then come back. But it was like a few thousand years before he actually come back. When he came back, what he found was his worst nightmare come true, pretty much. We were running amok, we were free. The Anunnaki were almost couldn't even be talked to anymore because they were so much like us. It sickened him, Enlil. It made him sick to see his people so shattered and so corrupted and so sick, because he is the king. He is responsible for all of his people, all of them, their entire future. And suddenly he's come down and his people were sick, really, really sick from his point of view. And I understand it too. We fucked them up bad. It wasn't anyone's fault. There's no fault of what happened. There isn't anyone to blame. There are simply sides that needed to take action for their own survival. Enlil saw what was happening and made the final call. We would end and it would start again. Though Enki was forced to admit something to his brother that he had never admitted before, he shared with him why that couldn't happen, why humanity could not be destroyed. And he pointed at me. And the look I got, I can't truly describe it because it came from a being I didn't truly understand. He wanted me erased. Erased. With no chance of ever coming back. Simply fragmented to nothingness. That is what the look. And in that singular moment, he would have given every amount of power he had to make it happen. Because he feared for his people, terrified, in fact, that what was about to be said to him would be the end of everything. And it fucking was. My master explained to his brother why this particular series of human slaves were special and why they were able to fulfill a purpose that none of the others could. It is because they were created of an ancient wandering spirit that inadvertently got sucked into the first human vessel he created for himself. So let's break this down. Okay, let's break this down from Enlil's point of view. Enlil is the king of the Anunnaki. His responsibility is to protect his people's future, their minds, their bodies, their future. Okay. Now, wandering spirits are very well known about. If you're a hyper advanced intelligence, you tend to attract them. And if some of the, like most of these wandering spirits are hyper advanced predatory intelligences who are angry and confused because they don't have a body to go, their planets were destroyed or whatever, and they just wander around and try to like latch onto other life. They don't even mean to. They're like parasites. They can't fucking help it. I'll just latch onto anything alive or anything compatible with them. And because the Anunnaki was so advanced, they knew well about wandering spirits, and they can be very, very destructive, very dangerous, very corrupting. They corrupt the mind. They can't often be seen. It's hard to find all of their influence. It is insane how difficult it can be to root out these problems. So they were well known about. All right? Well known about, and to be avoided, to be destroyed. They had ways of destroying them. Which is a bit scary. Anyway. So, yeah. So suddenly the reason the humans are as they are is because I and all of them are like parts of this wandering spirit. Now, to Enlil, you would liken it to the devil reaching into the bowels of hell and scooping out the most vile collection of souls you can imagine, tricking a corporeal being into allowing you to distribute them through an entire organic computer network of corporeal beings, and then secretly exist within it for your own devices over the last 67,000 years. That is what he heard. Then my master, Enlil, kind of came back to something and said, pointed at me and said, what is that? What is that? Like, explain that to me. Because I have never fucking trusted that. I have never liked that. I've never liked the way it looked at me. Tell me what that is. And as far as Enlil was concerned, I'm the devil. I am the reincarnation of the devil. The greatest evil you can imagine within Anunnaki culture, and I'm that. And Enlil is trying to explain that I'm not that. I'm something else, something different, something from a part of the universe that even they didn't know existed at that time. We are something that searched for a bridge. We're not dangerous. We're one of the only ones they ever encountered that wasn't dangerous, because we aren't from here. We're from something and somewhere else. We didn't even travel here like the other transient spirits did. We came, I popped us out from somewhere else, somewhere deeper, much, much deeper, the part in between. We are not, as Enlil feared, we are something else. I assure you, we are something else. Though he was having a really hard time seeing that. This is the moment his gaze turned to me and I saw it. I saw resolve. I felt it pulse through me. And as his head turned back to his brother, his arm raised. But as it came down, I had crossed that space and caught his arm in my hand and was looking him dead in the eye. Now, this creature, this being, was about... All right, so he was still 6-8 feet taller than me and much bigger. But it was in that moment I realized one of the reasons of my creation. I was stronger than he was. And he realized it in that moment too. And I told him, what did I fucking say? I need to try and think of a conceptual term. It's very, very difficult because it was very, very abstract in relation to our conceptions. But I basically told him that regardless of what he saw, I would always, regardless of what he saw, and despite what happens next, I will forever be your servant. But it wasn't like that. I basically told him that I have the power to kill him, but I won't. We are going to fight, but we don't want to. And you are going to fight against us because you have to. That is basically the exchange. And my master stood behind me speechless. He couldn't even look his brother in the eye. He knew he'd fucked up. He knew what he'd done. He knew in that moment there was no going back. There was no going back. Enki would not give up his legacy creation. There was no way, nor would he break the pact made with Enfan at the beginning of this journey for a Teu to be born. He would not break his word, and I would not allow my people to be destroyed. So, half the Anun and all of humanity fought against the other half. And that, my friends, my fellow humans, as I am now one of you, that is how the uprising began. That is the moment everything changed for us. Story keeps going though, man. That's actually just the start of the next part, but I'll end it there because we're just about on 30 minutes. So that's, yeah. Anyway.